Well, here we are once again at $50 silver. The price action has been very bullish in the past year and a half, but starting at the end of May, silver and gold rocketed in spot price. Silver shot past the low 30s, through the 40s, up into the low 50s, around the $53 and $54 price range. It held out there for a couple of days, and roughly a week and a half to 2 weeks ago, the price action cooled off. Gold dropped back down below $4,000 an ounce, and silver dropped into the mid-40s. There was plenty of talk and speculation as to whether or not stackers should have sold their silver and gold, and the topic of selling overall kind of gained momentum as each day passed. It was my personal opinion that the metals were going to blow off some steam, and it was going to be maybe 3 or 4 months before prices would resume their bullish activity, but I was wrong. Very wrong. Silver's up over $50 an ounce at the time of filming, and gold is up over $4,100. But the question still remains, it still looms in the air, is now a good time to sell? So without further ado, let's talk about buying versus selling at these crazy high prices, and the key factor that I'm looking at that's telling me that we might only be getting started. Let's get into it. If you guys enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe as we push hard for 7,000 subs. Let me preface this video by stating that it makes total sense to sell right now. I don't blame anybody if they are. That's not what I'm going to do. I intend to hold for years and years and years, but for many stackers with a dollar cost average around $15 or $20 per ounce, it makes total sense as to why now could be a good time to sell. If you've been in the game for 10 years, 15 years, maybe even 20 years, if you wanted to, you could, and you would probably walk away with a significant amount of profit. I'm not here to hate on selling or the idea of selling. I just want to approach the conversation of $50 spot versus the true value of silver. Of course, none of us really know the exact true denominated amount of silver. I'm sure it's much higher than $50. It could be 80, 90, 100, 150. It could be any number really, but I am fairly confident that it's undervalued. But let me play devil's advocate and explain a scenario in which I would feel comfortable in selling. Right now, the silver to gold ratio is around 80-1, which is higher than the averages we've seen over the past 20 or 30 years. In the past, a 55-1, 60-1, 65-1, maybe even 70-1 was a bit more modest here in the past 30 years. But as we move into the future, it seems the gold to silver ratio continues to widen a bit decade over decade on average. But if I was someone who had been stacking for years and years and years, I had been at it for several decades, and I had 1,000 ounces of silver laying around ready to be liquidated, I could see myself selling if and only if the gold to silver ratio made sense. Right now at 80-1, the gold to silver ratio seems to be somewhat wide compared to what we've seen in the past. Now at the same time, we have to take into consideration that the gold to silver ratio does seem to expand on average very slowly, decade over decade. I still think that it's entirely within the realm of possibility that we could see 65-1 or 70-1 gold to silver ratio again. But that's just not what we happen to have right now. Silver went on an aggressive run, and gold ran right along with it. Let me take a moment to give a shout out to our channel sponsor, PIMBEX. They've been so kind to reach out and support the 49's Fine YouTube channel. So if you'd like to support the channel and buy metals at cheap prices with secure shipping, check out PIMBEX.com. It's very interesting because year to date, silver is up roughly 75% since January 1st, and gold is up about 56% since January 1st. If we look at the past 12 months, silver's up about 55% and gold is up about 50%. But even still, the gold to silver ratio remains. And while it's important to take into account the use cases of silver and the use cases of gold, silver is much more heavily used in industry, and we are moving towards a more and more technological future, and I do feel that silver is going to be used at higher and higher amounts as the years go on. And as currencies get debased, gold will be seen as a true form of value and will be adopted by foreign governments and central banks more and more as the years go on as well. So, in my personal opinion, I see a positive trajectory for both metals. That's just my opinion, not financial advice. Silver and gold stacking is very situational on the buying side and the selling side. Everybody's financial situation, where they're at in life, their age, their income, what goals they're trying to achieve, all play a factor into whether we are currently buying or whether we are currently selling. I can tell you, even though I've only been stacking for about a year and a half and I intend to hold for a very long time, if gold stayed around the 2,800 price level from a year ago and silver somehow managed to shoot to $53 an ounce, you can bet your bottom dollar that I would be selling silver and moving it into gold to bolster my gold stack. But that's not what happened. Everything ran cohesively together in the upwards direction. In the next 4, 5, 6, or 7 years, as far as I can see, if I am ever going to sell gold or silver, it will be to move that money into the other metal. It all kind of depends on where the gold to silver ratio is. I don't really like to play the gold to silver ratio a whole lot, but if there was a significantly large difference between the two, that would influence my buying and selling decisions, and I might look at liquidating one metal to move heavier into another. But selling just to sell, just for the fiat currency to put it into maybe other investments or to take a nice vacation or whatever it happens to be, that's not something that I'm really interested in at all right now. And I think a lot of other stackers are in the same boat because it just kind of looks like the financial systems are shifting. We're moving into a new financial age, and real tangible assets are going to become more and more valuable, especially as society gets more and more digitized. Home ownership isn't as common as it used to be. Media isn't something that you hold in your hand anymore. There are no blockbusters. Everybody has Netflix. There aren't very many photo albums anymore. Everybody has everything saved on their phones. And the dollar itself is something that won't be able to be held in the future either. I do feel that we're going to move towards a national digital currency, and as we progress into a more and more digital age, I do feel that tangibility is going to become more valuable than ever. Now, metals prices could go either which way. Just because we have all these bullish catalysts in the present and in the future, it doesn't mean that metal prices can't go back down. Especially in regards to silver, historically it has been pretty volatile, so I wouldn't be too terribly surprised if at some point in the near future that silver had a decent little pullback. But the overarching feeling that I get is that these metals are going to continue appreciating at a decent rate for the next several years. So despite silver hitting the mythical $50 price point, despite gold hitting an insane $4,300 an ounce a couple of weeks ago, I don't think it is time to sell. They're both running together aggressively in the upwards direction, so I'm just gonna hold. It is crazy to see silver back up over $50 an ounce, though. I really did think it was gonna take until the early spring before we would see a continued bull run, but the present day-to-day can be very, very surprising, and I think the future will end up being even more shocking than we expect. So, should you sell your silver? That's entirely up to you and up to your situation. I don't have a direct answer for that, but I can say I do feel, in my personal opinion, not financial advice, that the metals are aiming for much higher price points in the near future, and the present day price action supports that. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you guys enjoyed this video. Stay safe out there, everybody. Keep stacking. Peace.